Hello there. I'm just in the Walter Beige Hot Garden that's in Langport in Somerset. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. Beige Hot, Bagehot, is a sort of a local local well-to-do family, part of the history of Langport. And that pump there is the pump that saved Langport, because there's lots of flooding around here from the River Parrot. And back in time, let's go and have a look at the little thing. There's the pump. It's the pump that saved Langport. The 19th century. Where was it? The 1890s, the floods. They used this to pump out the water that was going. Oh gosh, going all the way through in Bow Street. That's the main street there. So they've kept it as a reminder. So that's nice. And it's a nice little garden here. And round to the right is a little community garden where they're planting some vegetables and things like that, which is lovely. And it's a really nice day here. I've been following this thing that's been going on about the Chalice Well Garden in Glastonbury. It's a beautiful garden. I've been a companion that they joined for the year for several years, and I've been there hundreds of times probably, especially when I was more around Glastonbury. And there's been a bit of a to-do lately because the trustees of the garden, they removed some statues, one of a mother and child. It's kind of a mother and child figure that, could also be seen as Our Lady and the Christ Child, or a universal mother or a universal mother and child figure. And this statue was made by a Brahmin gentleman, a Hindu chap called Ganesh Bhat, I think that's how you pronounce it. And he gave this statue to the garden some years ago. I'll try and put a photograph of it over this video here. I'm not sure if I can do it technically. I'll have to do that when I get back home. It's beautiful, and it was in a little niche, and people loved it. Many people loved it, as we're now seeing, because the trustees decided, sort of without consultation, to remove it. And there's been a great outcry with a petition signed and over 3,500 signatures already to put the statue back where it was. I don't think the trustees were counting on such a big emotional and a reaction of upset and concern at what they'd done. And they also removed some other statues. Apparently they put one of the other ones back, but they've sort of put the mother and child back into the garden, but in not in its little niche in a wall where it used to be, where people knew where it was. And now it's in a meadow area, which is apparently not as accessible for people with disabilities. And it's also exposed to the elements, and people feel that's it's not a good compromise. It's a continued disrespect to the statue and to the artist who gave the statue to the garden. So hopefully you'll have seen a picture of it already. If not, I'll add it onto the end of the video. Because I've just got this basic editing thing that was free, so I'm not really sure how to do that at the moment. I'll try. Anyway, so that's what's going on there, and a lot of people are very upset about it. And I agreed that I think they shouldn't have made that decision especially without any consultation of the people that love the garden and support it, whether they're companions of the garden or not. Because people visit it from all over the world, the Chalice Well Garden. And the trustees sort of gave an apology out, and they said, before they decided to this compromise of putting the statue of the mother and child back in the garden, but in a different place, exposed to the elements, or more exposed. they said, oh, we want to make it a neutral garden, but I don't think it's a neutral place at all. I think it's a very spiritually significant place in all sorts of ways, whether it's got a Christian element to it, but also pagan and this sort of thing, in relation to the well. But it also had certainly had Christian connections through one of the earlier people involved with it. I think his name is Wellesley Tudor Pole. And from its first inception, really, that it was a place of spirituality and not a neutral place. The argument that the trustees are giving is that somehow some of those statues were delineating the garden as being about one path, and they're saying it's one source, many paths. But as someone said in one of the comments to their explanation, getting rid of all this symbolism of different belief systems and faith systems and faiths isn't a way to. It's sort of an undermining of everything. It's kind of making something, well, like they say, making it neutral. Oh, that's interesting. That's the bell up there. I've never sat here when that's been going. It must be 12 o'clock or something like that. I'll just let it ring. Yeah, was that 12 o'clock? Anyway, where was I about the garden? So it's ongoing. There's a lot of discontent. People say they're not going to come back to the garden, and I think they should put it back where it was. Personally, that's my opinion. Other people don't feel as strongly about it. I think they were wrong to do it without any consultation, and it was a sort of way of kind of ignoring the people, that kind of go there and say, hi there, hello again, hi, all right. Yeah, a bit late out Tesco's, yeah. Yeah, lovely day though, it was a nice day. Yeah. But yeah, so what was I saying? I just saw some people I knew from the bus, from the village. Yeah, so it's going on, and some people feel the trustees are no longer trustworthy because of their attitude displayed in moving it, as an executive decision, just making it a fait accompli. Oh, we've moved these. People from all over the world and the country who visit the garden love this statue in particular of the mother and child, and they venerate it and they sit and meditate by it. And now, first of all, it wasn't going to be there at all, and they were going to put it out of the way somewhere in some storage, I suppose. And it was given and made by an artist, as I said, a Hindu gentleman, a Brahmin priest, I believe, called Ganesh Bhat. And there's this other element that comes into it, in which it's meant to be that this artist drew inspiration from an original similar figure of a mother and child that was created by Eric Gill. Eric Gill made the statue that's outside the BBC, which has been controversial because it is said that Eric Gill was abusive to his daughters, I believe it is, and even a dog or something like that. Anyway, there's some sexual, it's more than sexual crimes attached to the memory of him as an artist. So it is said. Apparently, that is the case. But because this Indian artist, this Hindu artist, was inspired by Eric Gill's, and he probably didn't know anything about the history of Eric Gill, and he just did a similar statue, but it's done by a different artist. So the Glastonbury Chalice Well Garden are also kind of mixing that in there as well. They're saying, oh well, people might be triggered by this statue because of its sort of tangential relationship to Eric Gill, but it's made by a different artist. It was given in good faith and with love, I'm sure, and made with love, given to the garden in a pure way. And this is this idea of, I think, well, some people might call it kind of this part of the woke agenda to sort of take away everything that is, whether it's true or not, has got some relationship to something that somebody thinks shouldn't exist. So not only is it not by Eric Gill, it's by someone who had no conception that Eric Gill had that personal history. And it's got no relationship with him other than it's a similarity to the statue that he made, or even if it's a rough copy of it, but it's still a different piece of artwork. It's a different piece of work coming from a different person, and it's not related to Eric Gill. And I think that was used by the Chalice Well Garden as an excuse, because it's either got to be either or, isn't it? And the fact that they've put the statue back in the meadow means that wasn't the deciding factor. They wanted to get rid of what they might consider Christian iconography, or iconography of other spiritual paths. But how is that even possible when the garden itself is called the Chalice Well Garden? Well, and we know what the connotations of the chalice is, don't we? And the well cover itself, I think it has something called a Vesica Pisces on it, which is a Christian connection there. I'm just going to move over to these roses here. They're beautiful roses. And there they are. And yeah, so there's all kinds of spiritual connections to the garden that they can't. What are they trying to do? Just a group of young people. And it's the sense that that's the old town hall there. It's the sense, and I put it this way, maybe it was a bit harsh, but they're trying a kind of year zero on it, like they did in Cambodia, to kind of get rid of all of fundamentally the historical links and symbology that made the garden what it is and why people love it. They love it for all sorts of reasons. Yes, nature, as in the plants and trees, is part of it, the spring's part of it, the well is, but also items like symbolic items like the statue of the mother and child is as well. So there was trouble at mill there. Lovely rose, you see. We've got the old pump that saved Langport again. But yeah, so I don't know what's going to happen there. It's left a lot of discontent and upset among quite a few people. And for some people it won't be resolved until they do put the statue back. I suggested today on a page that's to do with the garden that, well, they could sort of canvass all the, they could ask for a vote, in a sense, of all the companions. I think it would be far the greatest number of people would vote to to return the statue to the niche that it was in. Hopefully I can put a picture up so you can see where it used to be. But it is no longer, and it's in a meadow area that people with disabilities are going to find hard to get to, and people are worried about the statue degrading, being under the elements and the effects of birds and animals and things like this. So perhaps I'll leave it there, and the situation's going to run and run until perhaps they'll just dig their heels in, the trustees, because they're trustees, they don't own the garden, and they've got a duty to consider the feelings and the views and the spiritual beliefs and values of people that support the garden, i.e. the trustees, the companions, but also anyone who visits the garden, whether they're a companion or not. But there we are. It's one of these things that, for me, it feels a sort of it's a similar kind of energy that was going on, I believe. This, again, maybe a harsh comparison. Similar kind of energy to what was going on in the plandemic or the scamdemic, in which you've got an executive making decisions for other people about very personal matters, about whether they can see loved ones when loved ones are ill or dying. And we now know, and while they were making those decisions, they were having parties. These people that made these emergency laws. So to me, it kind of suggests an attitude of ownership, and the fact that they've kind of partially done what people want, and they've put the statue of the mother and child back, but in a different area, and it doesn't really add up, the fact that they're bringing in this idea of Eric Gill. He isn't the maker of the statue. It's a universal figure of a mother and child. So what if Ganesh Bhat saw an Eric Gill statue and then sort of used that as an inspiration for a style of to copy it? Doesn't mean that it's got anything energetically to do with Eric Gill whatsoever. And I don't think anyone's complained about that being triggered in terms of child abuse. I think it's being used as an excuse because they want to divest the garden of perhaps particularly Christian symbology and symbols. Some lovely flowers here. Anyway, perhaps that's all I'll say on it for now, and we'll see where it goes. There's a petition out there that you can. I'll put the petition in the description bar down below if you want to have a look at that, and you can see a bit more about it. If you wanted to sign the petition, if you felt minded to, or you know about the garden, or just on principle if you wanted to sign it, I'll put the petition below. Thanks very much. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.